Hey guys, welcome back to the Bog Kitchen. Today we're making chili. Now the recipe I'm giving you today is the foundation of all of my chili recipes. Everything starts with this basic recipe. And I'm going to share everything I do with you, and I'm going to give you kind of points and hints at where I try to make it more advanced or add flavor or change it up at what different stages. So I'm going to give you my ingredient list and we're going to get started. Alright, first up we're going to talk about our meats. We've got a 1.5 pounds of ground beef and about a 2.5 pound chuck roast. I'm going to chop up the chuck roast into small 1-inch cubes, and I'll cook that down with the ground beef. It adds some variation to the texture, and this is where you can really start mixing it up. You can add whatever type of meat you'd like and it'll work with this recipe. I've used different types of venison, I've got bear meat, I've got chicken and bacon and turkey. I've used whatever I have in my freezer or whatever I have available. Next we're going to use a medium-sized onion and about 3 to 4 cloves of garlic. Now we've got our beans. I really don't have much in the way of preference for beans, but I do like adding a variety of color and a variety of beans to it. So I'm going to be adding 4 cans of that. Then we're going to use a bottle of beer. You can use whatever beer that you prefer or whatever you have on hand. I start to lean towards the darker beers because I think it adds a lot of flavor, a lot of depth to the chili itself. Now we're getting into some of the interesting things. I like adding about a tablespoon of blackstrap molasses and about 3 tablespoons of brown sugar. Now I do this because I normally make it with some heat. So I'll add either some dried chili or a habanero. I have powdered habanero, I'll add a little bit of that to it, or cayenne pepper. You can add things to spice this up and increase the heat, and that's where the molasses and the brown sugar really help balance everything out. But even not adding that, I think it adds a nice flavor depth to it. Next we add tomatoes. Normally I add a can of crushed or stewed tomatoes to this mix, but I don't have that right now. But I do have all of my tomatoes I just harvested that were all green, that have ripened up in the kitchen. I'll leave a link above for that video. The last thing you're going to add is going to be 3 tablespoons of a chili mix. Now I make my own chili mix, and this is what I put in it. 3 tablespoons of chili, 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, and then 1 tablespoon of regular paprika. I like to add a little bit of smoky flavor to it. 1 tablespoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of pepper, 1 tablespoon of ground garlic, half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, just to add a little bit of heat but nothing overpowering, and then 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. I know ground cumin is not something that everybody likes, but I don't get too much of it in there, just enough to add a little extra flavor. Now the reason I like making my own chili mix is because I can make this my own based on what I want my flavors to be. I know my mother doesn't like cumin, so if I make this and she's around, I don't add cumin at all to it. If you don't like the smoky flavor, add 3 tablespoons of regular paprika and don't add the smoked. If you need low sodium, lessen the amount of salt you add to it. If you don't want any heat, you can take out the cayenne pepper, or if you want more heat, we have ground habanero I've used. You can increase the amount of cayenne, but this is where you can really experiment and make it your own. But this is the base where I start at before I start mixing everything up. Now once you've combined everything, I use a storage container because I can put a lid on it and just shake it, and it's a lot easier than stirring it in a bowl. Now that we've laid everything out, we're going to start out by dicing and sauteing our onions. Dice up the garlic as well and set that aside. Now cut up the chuck roast into 1-inch cubes and start sauteing that once the onions are all done. Obviously, if you're using a canned tomato at this stage, you can skip it, but we're going to dice up our tomatoes. Once the chuck roast has started to brown, you're going to add the ground beef to it and stir it in. Once the meat is all browned, you're going to add the rest of the ingredients. You're going to add all of the tomatoes, now the garlic, And then you're going to add all of the beans, but rinse and drain them first. You're gonna add 3 tablespoons of chili mix. About a tablespoon of molasses. Three tablespoons of brown sugar. And finally, the entire bottle or can of beer. After stirring it, I'm going to bring it to a simmer and then take the temperature down to low. I'm going to cook it on low for about an hour to an hour and a half minimum. The longer you go, the more those flavors will develop and the thicker it'll get. Alright guys, it's all finished. So you see it's thickened up nicely. The boys love it. And really, you can top this off and finish it any way you like. We can do either chips or a baguette or something like that to go along with it to help just sop everything up and soak it in. But really, that's it. This is a simple base foundation recipe that you can change and make your own and just expand on. Do whatever you want, experiment, have fun with it. And as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.